Good afternoon. Welcome to the 11th Annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture as we come to you from the studios of Television Jamaica in St. Andrew. We're happy to have students and staff of the University of Technology Jamaica, as well as members of the JMB family right here in studio with us. My name is George Davis, and I am your moderator. Now, the Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture is held each year as a tribute to transformational leader, the late Joan Duncan. The Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics and Leadership at UTech Jamaica, which was named in her honor, partners with the JMB Joan Duncan Foundation to bring you this lecture. It focuses on entrepreneurship, leadership, and ethics, and all have been engaging and produced life-changing conversations. Today, we present yet another exciting and what we believe to be a widely appealing lecture as we focus on EmpowHER, Women in Leadership, Reshaping the Conversation. Now, we're honored to have a guest lecturer who boasts an enviable track record in leading one of Jamaica's largest companies. She is Martha Miller, Chief Executive Officer of National Rums of Jamaica, NRJ. Before the lecture, we'll hear from the President of the University of Technology Jamaica, Dr. Kevin Brown, and also from the JMB Joan Duncan Foundation. The first order of business is to hear from the man at the helm of UTech, Dr. Kevin Brown, the president of the institution.
It is my pleasure to welcome our viewers and live studio audience to the 11th Annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture. Today's exciting discussion is titled EmpowHER, Women in Leadership, Reshaping the Conversation. We are delighted to be continuing our enduring partnership with the JMB Joan Duncan Foundation with another very pertinent conversation that resonates deeply with our national landscape. The University of Technology Jamaica and the JMB share a long-standing and fruitful partnership spanning over 2 decades since the establishment of the Joan Duncan Chair in Research and Finance, established at the university in the year 2000. This partnership was further solidified with the renaming of our School of Entrepreneurship to the Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics and Leadership, also called JD SEAL, in 2011. JD SEAL stands as a pioneering institution in the English-speaking Caribbean, offering a specialized Bachelor of Science degree in entrepreneurship, and has consistently nurtured graduates who are well-grounded in entrepreneurial principles, ethical conduct, and the best practices in leadership. Each year, our memorial lecture delves into facets of the JD SEAL's mission, exploring the realms of entrepreneurship, ethics and leadership, and shedding light on critical areas of national significance. Today, we return full circle with a focus on leadership, spotlighting this time women in leadership, led by our esteemed guest, the trailblazer, Mrs. Martha Miller, CEO of National Rums of Jamaica. This annual lecture serves as a poignant tribute in honoring the memory and legacy of Joan Duncan and celebrating her pioneering vision and passion for Jamaica's progress and development, which she grounded in the core values of love, care, integrity, honesty, and openness. In continuing this great tradition, we know that our viewers will find today's conversation to be both enlightening and inspiring. Please enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, Dr. Kevin Brown there, the president of the University of Technology Jamaica, UTech. Now, this lecture is staged in partnership with the JMB Joan Duncan Foundation. For details of the foundation's inspiration of love and how it shapes their mission to create a better future for all, we're hearing now from Mrs. Patricia Duncan Sutherland, chair of the Joan Duncan Foundation.
Welcome to the annual Joan Duncan Lecture. We do this every year in collaboration with UTech, the Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics and Leadership, and the JMB Joan Duncan Foundation. This year, we are looking at women in leadership. It really is an apt topic because my mother, as she became a pioneer in the money market in Jamaica, had to go through a lot of barriers to become a woman in leadership. One such barrier, I remember when she first realized that she was being paid less than her counterpart at a particular organization that she was working with, and how she felt the injustice in that, but she took action and she moved on because she said she was not accepting less than. And that's what we have to do sometimes as women, to be able to move forward and to be able to break those barriers. And in particular, I am happy about this because my own work as an advocate is for gender parity in Jamaica, to have more women at the table in Jamaica. So today, I'm very happy that my friend Martha Miller is going to be giving this lecture, as she has had to navigate the different scenarios in Jamaica, the barriers, and she has overcome quite a bit because she is a successful woman, a successful leader in Jamaica. So let's listen to this lecture from the perspective of working out what can we do differently? What are the institutions that we have to change? What is the mindset that we have to change, the beliefs that we have to change to make sure that we can have gender parity in our country and we can welcome our female leaders at the table so we can have more development in Jamaica.
Thank you for that context and background. That's Patricia Duncan Sutherland, chair of the Joan Duncan Foundation. So you're watching the 11th annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture, and today we're focusing on EmpowHER, a play on empower, women in leadership as we reshape the conversation. And ahead of the lecture, I invite you to take a look at the life and work of a titan of business, a trailblazer, innovator, Joan Duncan.
I really enjoy my work. I have fun. I really enjoy myself. I like doing what I'm doing. I like figuring out how to make money. I like interacting with people. I really love interacting with my staff. And I like the feel of the place. When I walk into the place, I feel that I am just love and I just feel that all of it just happy.
How does a dressmaker, bar owner, born out of wedlock, college dropout, divorcee, and a single mother of 5, create one of the largest financial institutions in the Caribbean?
Everybody knows that Joan Duncan mad already. She go with her gut. She believes in people. She doesn't take on the negativity that most people have.
Everybody told her no, until she met one man, Dr. Noel Lyon, her other co-founder. They started strategizing on how to make Joan's plan happen.
The vision of love, straight Joan Duncan. We have her to credit for the entire architecture of our culture. She done business what people want to say, but she was going to create a company where people cared and loved each other.
I believe that everything that you are presented with in life, there is something that you have to learn from it.
She has lived an honorable life, and not because she's perfect. You know what I mean? She make a whole heap of mistake, but she learned from her mistakes and she lived her life of love, openness, and honesty and care. That is an example for every Jamaican, because she's coming from being a dressmaker, living hand to mouth, to creating a multi-billion-dollar company. That is what is possible when you are living true to your values. That is why I am happy to call her Honorable Joan Duncan.
Thank you for that. Joan Duncan there, remembered for her great contribution to business in Jamaica. We take a break. When we come back, the main event. Welcome back. You're watching the 11th annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture. Special welcome to our studio audience, which is comprised of students from UTech Jamaica, members of the JMB family, and their affiliates. To you, our viewers, we're happy that you've joined us. This is the 11th annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture, and today we're focusing on EmpowHER, Women in Leadership, Reshaping the Conversation. We'll focus on the opportunities as well as challenges faced by women leaders. The question: can women successfully lead? Another one: how do women become successful leaders in this male-dominated business environment? Yet another: what are the qualities of this leader and how can these be replicated? What are the challenges and how can women navigate them? We're eager to hear these questions answered and much more from our guest lecturer, Mrs. Martha Miller. She's Chief Executive Officer of National Rums of Jamaica, NRJ. Yeah? Well, welcome. We're anxious, Martha, to get your secrets about this woman talk business, your own experiences, how you've made it, and of course, advice intended to guide those women watching on or who'll see this at some later stage. It's not necessarily a shortcut, but the pitfalls that you probably can say something to assist them to avoid, and how to keep the blinkers on when necessary and to have an all-encompassing view when an all-encompassing view is required. The floor is yours.
George, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And it is indeed an honor to have been invited by the GMMB Foundation to this auspicious occasion. So today we look at the critical issue of women in leadership. Despite significant strides, women continue to face the unique challenges on leadership roles. Right? Today, we're going to explore these challenges and discuss actionable changes to empower her. So, we know all the statistics, what's happening with women in Jamaica, across the world, and in Jamaica in particular. There are a lot of women there is a high percentage or a higher percentage of women in the middle management level, but they don't make it to the top. Right? So, how did I make it to the top? And what was my journey?
Yes.
So, I think for me, a lot of it is being in the right place at the right time and being willing to feel uncomfortable and accept being uncomfortable, yet move forward. I've had some great male bosses who they asked and I delivered. And I was rewarded for delivering. You know? So, what are the challenges that we face? We all have imposter syndrome. Women are known for imposter syndrome. We have to be overqualified before we're going to be willing to accept that job or to apply for that job, right? That's one of the biggest things that we face. And how do we believe that roles are gender specific. So I don't think, women don't feel that they should be on the construction site, or they don't feel they should be leading the construction site. Why not? You know, there's a lot of gender-specific roles in Jamaica or around the world. My daughter is now in STEM, and I did not realize how much of a minority she is. She's in a school with 5,000 kids, I think, in total. And I don't remember what I was reading, and she said to me, I said, Savannah, how many girls are in your class? Are there really few women in class? She says, Mommy, if I'm in a class with 30 people and I'm the only girl, I didn't realize that. I was talking to someone about, I said that she's doing mechanical engineering. They're like, whoa, in North Carolina, they can't find any women engineers. And we need to step up to the plate where that's concerned. And all of this is because we just feel not confident that we're able to do this. We believe that the physics, the technical skills are all for men. And we just need to be, if we like it, feel comfortable with it and go forward. And that's one of the challenges I think we face. We're just not confident in our ability. High expectations. You know, the Jamaican phrase, the world not level. The world is not level. When it comes to women, it comes to men. Women will step into a room, or I'll say for me, I step in a room. I remember I was on a board committee. And for weeks, months, years, I would make statements and I would make recommendations and nothing would happen. And when a male counterpart joined, and he started to say the same things I was trying to say, changes took place. So what did I do? I said, okay, they're listening to you. We work together and we get it done. So things happen. And I continue, and I learn from him. And I see, okay, here is how he did it. How can I do it? How can I mimic what he did? How can I learn from him to get my point across? But it's always you're in the boardroom and they're going to listen to the men first. The women are going to be the ones who are going to, you need to take minutes. if the minute taker doesn't turn up, who is the first person they're going to have to take the minutes? The lady in the room. But if the chairman doesn't turn up, who are they going to ask to chair the meeting? The man in the room. You know? So there are these difficulties that we all face, and I've been through them. Men are allowed, you go into a meeting, I sit in the meeting, and it's quite interesting. And I'm sitting, and they're talking and talking, and I'm like, what have they said? Nothing. He has said nothing, and everybody goes, yeah. And the boys' club cheers. He said nothing. Women don't have that latitude. Women come to the table, we have to be concise. We have to know our facts. If we don't know what we're talking about, or we can't display immediately and catch their attention immediately, they shut you out of the conversation. Whereas men are allowed to fluff for a while and get away with it, and men support them through it all. There's a belief that women are emotional. So if a woman does not like something and she says it clearly in English that she does not like something, it's not accepted. But a man is quite happy to come in the boardroom and express in a room in Jamaica, in any language he chooses, and it's accepted. Why is it accepted for a man to use indecent language in a room? We wouldn't dare do that. But because you express yourself maybe a little bit more passionately, you're being emotional, you know? Those are realities that we face all the time as women, you know? Yeah, I think that those are, in a nutshell, those are the kind of things that we face.
But let me ask you, let me take you up on something you said. In terms of boardroom culture and how certain ancillary roles are expected of women in certain settings. So if the chairman is absent, a ranking man steps in. And if the minute taker is absent, the woman is asked to take the minutes. Does this happen when a woman is also chairing the meeting, or a woman has charge of the meeting? In other words, is it the structure that is the problem, or is it a man at the helm of the structure that is the problem?
I think it's both sometimes. Sometimes women do also, they don't embrace their fellow women and help to pull them along. And sometimes they fall in that trap also. So it's not a gender-specific issue, you know?
It's almost as if the role, the fact of leadership brings out certain tendencies then that serve to stymie the progress of women or to minimize their contribution. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think it's inbuilt in our culture, it's inbuilt in our system. And I won't get into more because I'm going to talk about how we're going to change it.
Yeah,
so
but
I don't want to talk about that yet.
But let me ask you then, so in your time as a leader, and this is where, Martha, I want you to chart your journey to this point. Where else have you worked, and what roles did you play in those entities sufficient to put you in a position when you moved to NRJ to be in the position you are now?
So my journey has been very interesting. I've always liked change. I've always appreciated change. It's not something that I'm afraid of. I embrace it. So I am a computer science major. I left university and decided I wasn't going to program one day in my life. My programming ended at university. And my mother said, well, I want you to go and work there's an opportunity at ICW, I think you should take it. So I went to ICW and I went to work in internal audit. A male boss. Everybody went to do their accounting exams and they were doing a restructuring exercise. As I joined, they decided to merge all of the entities for ICWI, Life of Jamaica, and the Citizens Bank. All the internal audit departments were being merged. Everybody went to their accounting exams. I was the only kid on the block. And so the gentleman, Emmanuel Obasari at the time, he was head of the Life of Jamaica internal audit team, and he took over the role. And so I had to work with Mr. Obbs, as we call him. I was the only one there, and we worked to do the audit, the budgets. It was we had to do the budget, and I worked long hours, and I was just always there. He called, he needed, and anything he asked for, I responded. And so, as I said, remember, I've just come from university. I've never audited before. We've done the audits, and he says, okay, I need you to go and audit loans at Ligani branch. I said, loans? He said, yeah, go audit loans at Ligani branch. And that's where I started. I'd never audited before. I think I did one cash and bank. So it is a major thing to go and look at loan documents. Well, I think I ran up a hefty bill, phone bill at Ligani, calling my co-workers at the other branch in Spanish Town. I'd read a document, and every time I'd go through the details. And that's how it started. I wrote an audit report that was significant because I looked at the detail. Every document that wasn't signed, I noted it. Every approval that was not, you didn't see evidence of approval, I noted it. So it was a significant audit report that went to the board of Citizens Bank that had significant repercussions as a result of that. And it was because of paying attention to the detail. Because of that one experience, I remember one day he said something to somebody about what time they came to work. And I said, what time they come to work? I said, Mr. Oves. He said, you don't watch the back of the clock. I don't watch the front of the clock. So my team knows, I don't watch the back of the clock. I don't watch the front of the clock, you don't watch the back of the clock. Right? I need you to get your job done. So I learned that from him. And there it was again, I was present, I did what needed to be done, and I was rewarded with promotions as we went through the line. I became a chartered accountant, and he left and went to ICD. So I left from banking and finance to ICD, which was another conglomerate. We had the supermarket, we had the construction company, we had the cement company. We had a lot of different things. And there again, I responded. They needed us to, we went from ICD, Industrial Commercial Developments, to McCalla. And through that process, I had to go on, it was required that we sat with Pricewaterhouse at the time and learn and do all the consolidations and all the things that are required for SEC reporting. And I did it. I didn't like it. He knew I did not like it, but I did it.
Did you do it well?
And I did it well. What happened was then I kept complaining. I'm saying, we're spending millions of dollars doing this thing. I'm a chartered accountant. My workmate, Christopher Mendez at the time, he's a chartered accountant. Why are we sitting here doing this and paying them to do all of this? He said, okay, let's take it in-house. He brought it in-house and Christopher migrated. So I was the only one left. And what did I do? I was present. I remember the partner we changed to KPMG, and the partner from KPMG and the manager from KPMG. Many days we'd close the office. They'd lock the doors with me at night, teaching me, showing me all these things. Because, again, I was at Pricewaterhouse, as my chartered accountant, I was doing the most menial tasks.
Yes.
And I had to step up to the plate, and I did it.
Yes.
And for years, I did the consolidation of the 26 companies. I led the reporting for the SEC reporting for the ICD group. I did it. I was present, they needed me, and I responded. Fortunately, just before I got married, so I didn't have to worry about going home to the children at that time. So I'd be walking through ICD, turning off the lights at 11 o'clock midnight and going home, you know. I responded, then I left there and I went to Lime, and there again, consolidation, they needed me and I responded.
Hold on the Lime point, because when you come back, when we come back, I want to ask you the question that is normally asked of athletes, but then you're a championship performer as a manager, Martha. You're not a normal person, so I can ask the question of you. This is the 11th Annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture. Our guest lecturer is Mrs. Martha Miller. She is CEO, National Rums of Jamaica, and the lecture continues right after this break. I implore you to stay with us. Welcome back welcome back to the Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture today. Guest lecturer, Mrs. Martha Miller, getting warm. She is the CEO of National Rums of Jamaica, and she speaks on our topic this year, EmpowHER, Women in Leadership, Reshaping the Conversation. Now, what you are doing before the break is to provide a continuum of your roles, not just in leadership, but working, that have brought you to this point. And we were at the point where you know we're starting a new journey at Lime.
Yes. So Lime, I think that was my longest tenure. I had 2 stints at Lime, and I think in total I worked there about 8 years. And it was a male-dominated world. But I was proud to say we did the same thing. In my second stint, I actually led a team. I was asked to act as the CFO when our CFO left with short notice. And then I was, then we had the consolidation. It was Cable and Wireless.
Yes.
And then we became Lime. And then we had the consolidation, the regionalization. And I was asked to act as a CFO in the initial transformation. And then I was appointed and I had to build a team. Well, I'm proud to say I built a team of 5 ladies. And it was 5 ladies supporting. We probably had about 20 gentlemen that we supported. We supported the engineers, so the gentlemen that led that managed the fiber network, the mobile network, Oliver, they had TV at one stage, everything that they had, well, they managed those, so we supported them. And we supported the team that ran the trucks on the road, so they came into your houses. So it was about 20 odd men that we supported. I remember the first time I went into a meeting in Cayman and I stepped in, and they looked and they said, "You name Martha? I thought it was a big woman." You know? And we were always there for them. We made things simple. We got to the detail. Those guys knew every cent they spent, how the money was spent. So we were managing between the capital expenditure and the regular administrative expenses. We were managing about $300 million US. And those guys knew every cent they spent, how they spent it. We made it that detailed for them. I remember one day when we finished our report and we dropped off the report and we were going downstairs, Rodney Davis was coming upstairs. That was when I was in the business analyst role. Rodney Davis was coming upstairs. So it was long, it was hard, but it was be there, be present, and get it done. Delivery is important. There's no excuse that, oh, the board meeting date is not changing, right? So the report has to be done. So you need to put in the work to get it done. Do the hard work up front, you know, to make things simpler and get the work done.
Yeah.
So I left Lime. It was Lime at the time when I left.
Yes.
I left Lime and I went to work at National Rums of Jamaica. The opportunity was presented to me.
This was around about when, 2013?
2013, I went to work at National Rums. And I did not know, I've never heard about National Rums. And it was through a headhunter, and they said, "No, Martha." Pasha said, "Martha, no. This is the job for you." I'm like, "Okay, Pasha. I mean, I trust you, so let me go do it."
Yes.
And I haven't looked back. I have not looked back. I enjoyed working at Lime because even though the hours were tough, I could work from anywhere. So I was able to not miss anything that my family required me to be at. Right? I could be anywhere my husband required me to be. I could be anywhere my children need to be. I would be at the stadium and I'd disappear for an hour or two to go and do a conference call in the car and come back, you know? But the important thing was it allowed me to do what I needed to do. When I came to National Rums, I'm blessed. It allows me to do everything I need to do. I have great work-life balance. I still don't miss anything.
Yes.
But it's good, interesting work. I have a great team.
Yes.
My board is very supportive. And they have always been from day one. I started with Evan Brown, and he taught me a lot. I learned a lot from Evan in all about the rum business. Rum business is a man's world. There's no joke about it. There's no other way to call it.
But to underscore that,
Yeah.
we need to tell the viewers that you are...
I don't get there yet.
So I'm vaulting ahead because this is important for the context you set up already.
Yeah.
And it is, my point now is prompted by you talking about how male-dominated the rum business is.
male-dominated.
And in the 40 years of National Rums, they did not have a woman CEO before you.
No, they didn't have a woman CEO before me. There was Evan Brown, then there was Winston Harrison,
Yes.
then there was Neil Glasgow,
Yes.
and then there was me.
So here's the thing. So this is the question I set up before the break. Because ego is a very important part of a champion athlete's makeup. It's also a very important part of a successful manager's makeup. Ego is also an important part of a successful vendor's makeup. So if you're selling Gleaner, Star, you're selling juice, if you're a serious manager in a serious company, that is a very important element that we need to have. It's about harnessing it. So I ask you this. At what point in this journey, notwithstanding the obstacles that were built into the system and how people are where women are concerned, at what point did you say to yourself, Martha, you know, you have it, with it being the ability to rise to the very top of the entity that you were a part of?
So, imposter syndrome was me. Imposter, and it was my 51st birthday. I missed the 50th, and my friend was celebrating her 50th and said, no, you need to celebrate too. So we had the party together. It was a small party, and I was chatting, and we're talking about our CEO, Winston Harrison, had passed, and myself and Neil, I was CFO, and Neil was the CEO, COO. And literally, when Winston passed, Winston passed the Tuesday. The Wednesday, we mourned. On the Thursday, I said, Neil, we have a business to run, and Neil said, yeah, let's do this. I said, all right, Neil, you're the operations guy. You have all the people, and there was 4 of us. There was marketing, in addition to myself, CFO and the COO, there was marketing and HR. I said, you have all the people, so you take HR, I'll take marketing. And that's how we went to the board meeting. This was October, and we went to the board meeting in December, and the board was like, wow. We didn't call them, they didn't ask anything, we just did it. And they said, you know, we're going to reward you guys. And for that, Neil, we're going to appoint you CEO, Martha, we're going to promote you to deputy CEO. Neil, you groom Martha, and once you resign, or when you retire, then we'll appoint Martha CEO. So I begged Neil for 2 years, but he gave me 9 months.
9 months.
He gave me 9 months, and then he retired.
Yes.
And then I was appointed.
Yes.
But initially, I was hesitant. I was talking about it and said, you know, this is going to happen. And my girlfriend said to me, she doesn't even remember she said it. She was behind me. And I said, oh, and somebody said, do you do the job? I said, no, sir, I'm not doing that job. I was Jackie Sharp, and Jackie just touched me and said, Martha, I don't want to ever hear you say that again. And she went back to her conversation. That was it, and it sat with me. And then on December 31st, I called my boss, my chairman, Kamal Samaru, and I said, Mr. Samaru, I think I will put my hat in the ring. And he said, that's what I want to hear.
So apart from the introspection, you know, when you searched yourself, what did you find that convinced you that you had what it took?
I knew I was the person that knew the most about the business. Anybody else coming in didn't know what I knew. No, Winston was a tough cookie. Winston gave me everything. I mean, sometimes I'd be like, take a deep breath. But he gave me everything. He exposed me to everything. He asked me to do everything. But I learned a lot. I never said no. I did it all. So when I sat back, I did know the business. There was nobody that knew the business like me, that national owns business like I knew it. So why was I saying that? I was, as we said, I was overqualified for the job. I'd never been a CEO. And for me, that's the chief people officer. And I tell my team, there's lots going on, but I'm the chief people officer. Right? Yes, we have HR, but my team is very important. And I'm the chief people officer. That is what I had to learn.
So here's the thing. A lot of people, based on experience, have a vision of a female CEO. So they say, okay, so they make some certain assumptions based on the complex. So one, she is as aggressive as a man. She has all the boorish male qualities, because in their mind, that's the only way a woman can vault to that level and stay there. She has to take on the persona of a man to achieve that level of success. Is that true?
That's not true. I'm assertive, but I am not masculine. I am not as... I see things differently. I am a lot more compassionate than the men are, you know? They never stop to think about what makes a complete picture, right? What we bring to the table as women that's very different is we think about, and we know that it can balance, right? So you can balance being a mother, a wife, and an employee. It's not difficult, you know? Men have had to learn that they too can do that with COVID, when they've had to sit down at home behind a camera, looking at this room, and the dog start barking, and the 2-year-old, daddy, daddy, and pulling on their hem. Women have been doing it all along. Men now realize that they too can do that, but that's natural, right? And we are not, we're a lot more compassionate. We're a lot more compassionate.
The boardroom, you know this very well. The culture of the boardroom, toxicity is built in, and men make certain assumptions of women. You know, how did she get here? I wonder. You know what I'm talking about. Have you met that, and what have you fought that with?
You know, I've been blessed. it happens all the time, and I see it. And I've seen women, and I've had to say to women, you're a woman, you can't do that, right? You have to make sure that certain things happen and people can't question your integrity, right? A gentleman said to me once, Martha, nobody will ask anything because you shoot straight like an arrow. Nobody would ever question my integrity, yeah? I wouldn't dare allow them to question me. And if they tried, I'd answer them nicely, you know, because I didn't get there any other way than through hard work. And hard work, I encourage all women, I encourage my team players. I said, you have to deliver, you make a promise, you have a commitment, you have to work through that, right? Understand, pay attention to the details, and it shines, right? When you step in a boardroom, you know the ladies that know what they're doing. As somebody once said, there was a phrase, she knows this stone cold, I think was a phrase that she said, describing another woman. All the women that are in leadership that I look at and I admire and I interface with, all of them, they know their business inside out, and that's what you need. And once you can show that, the men will respect you. Yeah, the men will respect you.
Have you ever been in a position throughout your career where you felt as if you would not get, because you need facilitation to be successful. It's not all about you breaking down doors and everything. Sometimes you need doors to be open for you. Were you ever in a position where you felt as if, you know, those around you, based on your own makeup, would not make the way kind for you, even as you worked to make the way kind for yourself?
Yes, most definitely. And the thing about that was the biggest factor that I faced was another woman.
Ah,
yeah.
Well, that's surprising, though.
It was another woman, but I had been in the job. I was supposed to work somewhere else, and I had taken that job, and I was like, okay, I'm not leaving here because I'm not putting that mark on my resume. Why did you leave? What I said, because I couldn't deal with this lady I couldn't stand up to this lady that was bullying me? No, so I sat down, I did my work, and I tell my team all the time, I said, professional at all times, don't compromise your professionalism for anything, right? Go in the office, lock your door. If you need to cry, go in the office and lock your door and cry. But you come back out and you smile and you show the face and you do what you need to do to get the job done, right? Don't ever let them question that.
Excellent point to finish this segment on. You're watching the 11th Annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture. Our guest lecturer, Martha Miller, CEO, National Rums of Jamaica. When we return from the break, our audience will get a chance to interact with our presenter on this very interesting topic. As always, so much to cover. The time is short. Don't go away. Welcome back to the climactic segment of the 11th Annual Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture. Martha Miller, CEO of National Rums of Jamaica, has been speaking to us on the topic, Empower Her, Women in Leadership, Reshaping the Conversation. What we've heard so far from her, fascinating. The thing that will stay with me is that she said that the person who presented the highest roadblock in her progress to this point, another woman, one would have thought that, you know, it would have been a man who was trying to stymie the growth and progress of an outstanding woman. She says, it was another woman, but she came through that. And she said, look, critically, we are taught, all of us, men and women, that, you know, weakness it's not good to show weakness. She's saying, no, if you have to cry, you go to the side, you go one side, and as we say plainly in Jamaica, you lock yourself away, have a good ball, you come out emerging, your face is dry, you are smiling with everybody, and you are ready to tackle the challenges ahead. It is simple as it comes, but it is sage advice. You can have your moment of weakness in private, and then you return to the public glare and you get on with the task at hand. Don't forget that. Well, we have several persons here with questions for our presenter, and I'm going to ask Jada, who's on the floor, to present the first question. Jada.
Good afternoon. So my name is Jada. I'm from Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneur Ethics and Leadership. And my question is, What are some common barriers or challenges that women face in attaining leadership positions?
Okay, thank you for that, Jada. So I think the first thing I said, as I was saying before, is that imposter syndrome. We don't trust ourselves, right? We need to trust ourselves. That's the first thing. The second thing I think I want to talk about is we need to be assertive, right? We need to be assertive in what we do. We need to, an opportunity presents itself. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and ask to be a part of the team. Volunteer to be a part of the team. It might take some extra time, but volunteer to be a part of the team. Everything that we do, we learn from it. And the more you learn, the wider your exposure is, the more you can become a part of the team, is the more you can share and support your boss in what he's doing or she's doing. So always be willing to volunteer. Know your worth. And the other one is feel comfortable being uncomfortable. So you don't understand something is new to you. You have to start. So feel comfortable being uncomfortable and make that step forward, right? I think that's a big thing for me. Know your worth and feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Those are the big things for me.
Thank you. Jessica has the other question, as the next question.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your authenticity and openness in sharing. I am from the JMMB family, and I have a leadership role in the JMMB family. And I have two quick questions, if I may. First, you spoke to the balancing of roles, wife, mother, manager. In the corporate space, can you share a bit about how you would have set boundaries? You spoke about earlier in your career being the one to turn off the lights at 11 o'clock, but I'm sure in another phase of your life, you may have had commitments which would have meant that you would have had to draw some boundaries to not compromise your responsibilities to your family and your home. Can you share a bit about that? And then you also touched on the word compassion, which resonated with me as a member of the JMMB family. That's one of Joan's legacies, I believe. And I think that it would be good for you to touch on how you also bring compassion to bear to create psychological safety as you lead and as you build your team members.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica. So the first one we want to talk about is boundaries.
And balance.
And balance. The first thing everybody knows, that my family is important. So I've always made that clear. I'll do what you need to I'll get what you need to get done, but sometimes you might not see me doing it, right? So the important thing is I've always set the playing field that I'm going to deliver. And so it might be that I've gone to the sports day, or I have gone to the swim meet, or my husband has realized that he needs his passport renewed and he has to be on a flight shortly. So I've left my office to go and get it done, to help him to get it done. But then when I've tucked everybody away to bed, I remember one night when I was at Flow, I couldn't sleep. And when I got up, I realized all the things in my head, things I had to get done. And when I wrote everything that was in my head on the piece of paper, it was 3 folder leaves back and front. So I was just like, okay, and you just do what you need to do. So I started that routine where I'd come home, once everybody's gone to bed, I write everything down, take out the major things, get them out, send off the emails, finish up the report. So I do generally 2 to 5. Many nights, that's what I would be doing. So I made sure the kids were happy. I made sure my husband was fine, and then I'd get back to it. And the important thing is they supported me through it all. They have always been my biggest cheerleaders, you know? So it's 2 sides.
Mm-hmm. The other one concerning compassion and how it manifests in your work.
So, like I say, I don't watch the front of the clock, you don't watch the back of the clock. So you have challenges going on, you have things you need to do, share. So as I meet people, somehow I'm just chit-chatting and I learn a lot about what's going on with them. So in short order, I know that they have 2 kids. One kid is having a challenge in something, or a mother is having a challenge with their mother. Then that opens the door for, they come in and say, what's happening? And they say, well, X, Y, Z. And I say, all right, and we'll have a conversation about that. They'll need time to do something. They'll feel comfortable, say, I need time to do something. But I'm not watching what you do by the clock. So if you need to take time off to deal with a personal matter, that's fine. But the agreement is the board meeting date has not changed, right? So we need to deliver. And it works, I recognize that we all face challenges, and it works, That's it for me.
There you go. Thank you for that. Alexia.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Alexia.
I'm Alexia. I'm from the Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics, and Leadership. My question is that you mentioned building a team of 5 women. What other policies or practices are centered around moving the needle with respect to creating a better culture for women in business and in the boardroom?
Interesting one. So I want to say, though, is that the men need to be very careful, right? The men need to be very careful.
Why?
Because it's hard to hire men. No, it's becoming very difficult. So when I employed the 5 women, that would have been before 2008. Now, I am consciously trying to hire men because the women are rising to the top. They outshine the men in the interviews. So that in my organization, I have sitting in my office, I have myself, my CFO is a lady, my trade marketing manager that sits on the that currently sits on the leadership team, she's a lady. There's somebody else. And then my executive assistant, she's a lady. Then the only person in the room is the head of HR is a man. And on the other side of the phone is the group operations manager is a man, and my senior blender is a man. But his second is a woman. Senior blender second is a woman. The HR second is a woman. The group operations, the head of my distillery, the lady who runs the operation of the person who runs the operation of my distillery is the only female distillery manager or operations manager for a distillery in Jamaica. Right? So Flovia runs my. So the men are very, very hard to find. So for me, it's been easy now to bridge that gap. Women are presenting themselves, and I think what happens is in many of the interviews, what is a factor for them why so many of them are applying is because I'm a lady. So they have done the homework. They know that the CEO is a woman and they want to work with a woman. So I have a lot of it. I don't know if that's intimidating for men. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. But we are getting a lot of very qualified women applying for our positions. So men need to beware.
Yeah. Alexia, you asked the question that has me fretting now. Status. The gentleman behind you, Alexia, could you identify yourself, sir, and then pose your question?
I'm Frederick Mills, a lecturer in the School of Entrepreneurship at the UTech. Miss Martha, very inspiring. Just one thing I'd like you to expound on. You made mention one has to get uncomfortable to become comfortable somewhere. You use that phrase. Comfortable to become.
You should be comfortable to be uncomfortable.
Right.
Yes.
Could you relate that into aspiring young entrepreneurs, young females? Could you say a little more on that?
Okay, so for me, it is the easiest way. Thank you for that question. The easy thing for me is you don't understand a topic or you've never been in a particular situation. So I'm trying to think of a good one. What's a good one?
Just give me any one.
I'm blank. So it's just any new situation that you're faced with. So you've never been in the boardroom before, right? You've never been in the boardroom before and the chairman says, or I say, come, you need to make the presentation. I'm going to ask you to make the presentation. Don't shy away from the opportunity, right? Present yourself, do your homework, recognize, as I was when I came, I had to do this. I was nervous. But make the effort to come forward. Do your homework, know your facts. And then once you've done your homework and you understand what is expected of you, you will be okay. But you have to make that step. You're going to be nervous. It's normal to feel nervous, right? And just be prepared.
And could I assist you by saying that what I understand you to be saying, and this may help Frederick, is that you are saying that do not confine yourself to your comfort zone.
Definitely, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You can't grow if you stay within your comfort zone. That box that you like, kick down those doors and move. Do something that makes you uncomfortable, and that's new.
There you go. All right, Frederick. Brisha is next.
Hi, good afternoon. A recipient of the Joan Duncan scholarship with the Jamaica Theological Seminary, doing social work. I'm on my last few weeks. God is good. Do you find, so my question is, as a female leader, do you find, as you liaison with other females, do you find that to be a leader, as a female, you need to be colder, to be harsher, to be more rigid? Because I would find myself in situations where I'd rather deal with a male sometimes, because I find our female, as you would have mentioned before, that a challenge that you had at one point, it was from another female. And that is kind of my sentiment also, that I find it's much easier to deal with a male. I find that a male seems to be more compassionate, honestly. So when you liaison with other female leaders, do you find that we are lacking this emotion, you know? Although they are saying that we are too emotional, is it that we purpose ourselves to remove that from our character as a leader and say, hey, I am going to have the iron fist, and, you know, what? Okay.
We have to get in the answer now because we're almost out of time.
So no, I do not think we need to.
Good question.
Very good question, thank you. I do not think we need to be harsher. I think we need to strip away. Don't focus on the emotion that a question comes with you or a situation comes at you with. Listen to what the person is saying. Listen to what's going on. And I'm getting better at it, and it's something that we all have to learn to get better at, is strip away the emotion and deal with the words and deal with what you're faced with. And that's how I think we need to move forward. We don't need to be harsher. We don't need to be attach any particular kind of mannerism to it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's all the time we have, unfortunately. This has been inspirational, not just for aspiring women leaders, but for everybody. Another great conversation, in my view, and so much more to talk about, but time, of course, is against us. Another very good edition of the Joan Duncan Memorial Lecture, and I take the opportunity to thank all those who made it possible. Thanks to the Joan Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics and Leadership at my alma mater, the University of Technology, Jamaica. Thanks to the JMMB Joan Duncan Foundation. Be quiet. And of course, you person, you. Our guest lecturer, Mrs. Martha Miller, CEO, National Rums of Jamaica. Thank you as well, Martha. My name is George David. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you next year, and do enjoy the rest of the afternoon.